How to Receive the Fire to Prophesy Deep is the title of this one. It's an edition of the prophetic series. And I'm glad to have you here. In this one, I'm going to be literally walking you through what it takes to receive the fire that is required to enable a prophetic person prophesy deep. What it really takes to catch this fire and operate like some of the craziest or most powerful prophets of old time, as well as the greatest of the prophets of the contemporary time. You want to be one of the outstanding, sharpest prophets, or at least the sharpest, one of the sharpest prophetic person in this dispensation. So you are just going to be allowed to access the most profound secrets you need to get yourself ready to do just that. How to catch the fire to prophesy deep. Before we go into the main thing proper, in case you're new on my platform, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Like this video, comment to tell me how it has affected you, and share this video to bless somebody. Remember that as prophetic people, we are not excluded from God's foundational purpose of the body of Christ. It is to reach out and bring in souls as evangelists through our prophetic tool, and to nurture them as prophets, teach them, nourishing them, preparing them for the glorious rapture. So whatever we're doing in terms of depth, in terms of being forensic, in terms of prophesying with accuracy and precision, doing all the accurate prophecies. What are we looking at? We're looking at the fact that we're able to bring people closer to God. So that being established, let's look at our first point in this material. And this one is real decision. I've got 3 powerful points. So stick with me to the end of these. A teaching to get yourself fired up, geared up, placed in that place where you are able to prophesy deep, having caught the fire. It takes real decision to catch the fire to be able to prophesy deep. It takes catching the fire to prophesy deep. You need to know how to catch the fire to prophesy deep. The Bible time prophets who prophesied deep, the contemporary prophets who were prophesying deep, and as such are able to have the power of God expended, applied effectively on their prophecy, with results following instantly, are people who have known the secrets of making a real decision. The moment you receive your call, the moment you decided you've got a desire to prophesy and you are running for it, you are pursuing this, you've made it your concern and pursuit. Because prophecy is God's concern. When you make God's concern your concern becomes his concern. Get that at the back of your mind as we proceed. So you see, the next thing is, how do I get the fire to do this work? To get the fire, you've got to make a real decision. Daniel, the Bible said that Daniel proposed in his heart not to eat of the king's food. Can you see? Not to defile himself, not to eat, of the king's delicacy. Whether it was a wine, whether it was a food. He was a slave, and he got that privilege, being appointed among those great guys that were picked to attend the University of Babylon, equivalent of that day. Daniel said, no, I've got this rare opportunity, but I'm not going to use it. It will mean defiling my vessel. So you see, you are making a strong decision. It's not sweet to the flesh, but it's going to be necessary if indeed you are going to fulfill your prophetic assignment, not to defile yourself. Real decision. Remember another decision maker by the name Ezra. In Ezra chapter 7 verse 10, the Bible said that Ezra proposed in his heart to do what? To study the law first and to do it. Every prophet has to study the law Do it before teaching it. So let's say it this way. You are deciding to study the law, you are deciding to encounter the law, and then before you go out to talk the law, in this case, prophesy the law, there has to be that decision of doing from studying, like Ezra. Every man or woman in the Bible who had served God is a prophet in different order of grading. Does that make sense? So what made them to stand out is what you must look up to as somebody who's coming into the prophetic fold or prophetic faculty. Are you intending to stand out? Then you must make this decision today. There are decisions you must make. There are people you must withdraw from. There are things you must withdraw from. There are careers you must withdraw from. You must make the decision today to stand out. And there are people you must decide to work with. There are people you are not working with sincerity, that you have to decide to work with them with sincerity. There are men and women God has placed in your life that are capable of unlocking you to do some of the craziest things around the prophetic. Are you dedicated to their leadership already? Real decision. Are you dedicated to their tutelage? Daniel was trained, that polished him to be ready to do this thing. Even Moses had to decide to leave Egypt and then decide to bond with Jethro, even though he was a pagan priest. But the men had to mentor the prophet of God. A pagan priest mentored the prophet in this sense, because that was the leading. It was difficult to accept for a chamberlain like Moses, who had greater privileges than what he in Egypt than what he enjoyed or saw or endured in Jethro's house. But he had to take it. Start from there. If you need the fire, if you must get the fire, because that's what it takes to start. Let's move to something deeper. That's a point number 2, and the word is raw encounter. For you to be able to prophesy deep, you're going to be going through raw encounters. Point number 2 is what? Raw encounters, not encounter. Not one, repeated. Raw encounters. Yes. So let's pick number 1, Moses. He was coming from the place of raw encounter to Egypt to prophesy to the people of Israel, and then to Pharaoh. From a place of what? Raw encounter. The fire was upon the bush, the grasses were not consumed when he turned there. Now the Lord spoke to him from the midst of the fire. See all of that. He'd been accompanied by angels and all of that raw encounter. Then you talk about Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 6. Now from verse 1 to chapter 5, he'd been prophesying, but we saw dangerous, a real encounter of Isaiah with Isaiah in chapter 6. Raw encounter. You see, now in the year that King Uzziah died, as also saw the Lord seated on the throne, the terrain of his garment filled the temple. Now, he said that there was smoke coming in between the posts there. The temple where God was sitting was filled with smoke. Then he saw the seraphim, each having 6 wings. Have you seen those kind of beings around you on earth? No, it was a raw encounter. That was where Isaiah came from, after being cleansed with a fire, touch of fire by one of the angels, and then he began to prophesy. You expect Isaiah's prophecy to be ordinary. Look at Zechariah in chapter 1. Then you're talking about verse 19, verse 18, verse 20, and verse 21. Look at Zechariah deeply. The man is talking about also saw. He said 4 horns. And then I asked the angel who was with me, now, have you had an encounter of an angel before? Is this thing repeated? Then you want to prophesy deep. How? If you really want to go there, then you need you need what? Raw encounter. Raw encounters. And there are triggers of encounters. Yes. And you must know what are the triggers of encounters. These are the things we do when we mentor prophets from around the world at Charlie School of Seers. Let's move away from the issue of raw encounters, because I think I've given you good details and the relevance of raw encounter. Because you see, Ezekiel before I move away. Ezekiel also had his own experiences of raw encounter, lots of earthly visions, and then you see, you expect his prophecy to be ordinary. How? He was a man who prophesied deep, and God confirmed every prophecy from the mouth of Ezekiel. Ezekiel had an encounter in chapter 1 alone where he already saw the cherubim with four faces: face of a man, face of an ox, face of an eagle, face of a lion. And then he saw them with four wings. He saw them carried by wheels, and the wheels were having eyes in eyes, and then wheels in wheels. And he described the appearance, everything on earthly. And the man was returning from there to prophesy to you. You expect him to prophesy at superficial level. There are people who come to prophesy to us without encounter. Little wonder their prophecy cannot go cut deep, and their prophecy cannot even move a fly in terms of the power savored in the anointing, because there is no fire in their prophecy. But you want to prophesy, you want to be an outstanding prophet. Perhaps you are in this video because you are tired of dry prophecies. You want to have prophecies that have got liquid fire, so that as speaking out of your mouth, fire is literally being emitted out of your mouth to solve real problems, to address real issues. The Lord is taking you there. That's why he brought you here. Let's move to my point number 3, and it's my final point. And this one is repeated empowerment. This is what people don't know. This is what people don't know. Think about a man like Prophet Elijah. I'm not talking about being empowered as on the Pentecost alone here. They were empowered on the Pentecost. In chapter 4 of Acts, the apostle again, they had to come back to ask the Lord to empower them again. Which power did they receive that day? Which power are they asking for? Most people, when they labor, travail in the place of prayer to bet their work or beginning in the prophetic, what they do is they shrink back to the shell, and they don't ask for more empower. That is repeated empowerment. Again, you need it. Now you see Elijah the prophet now going to Cherit, the brook of Cherit. What was he doing? A kind of hibernating. What do you mean what do we mean by hibernating? For prophetic people, that's a retreat. That's withdrawing into an isolation. Jesus did that repeatedly. And God, as having used that prophet to accomplish that great feat of decreeing there will be no rain these days except at my word, God had to move him to a place where he had to be cooked in terms of the readiness of the man with fire. And it was at Jericho. Then ravens were instructed to keep bringing him food. So you are eating the food of angels. You are eating the food brought by raven. And then you are coming to the house of a widow at Zarephath. Why wouldn't you prophesy and with accuracy? Because each time the ravens come, the whole scenario or picture, rather, the scene surrounding the bringing of the food by the ravens was in itself an ignition for empowerment. And the prophet got the empowerment. So he came to the house of the widow of Zarephath and told her that thus saith the Lord, this flour will not run out, and then the oil will not run out. Yes, until the day the Lord sends down the rain. The woman went and did according to the deed of the prophet when he said, go make me a bread first from what you have, the flour and the oil, and then make for you and your son. And that was exactly what happened. The woman did, and the word of the prophet came to pass. You want to prophesy and your prophecy come to pass like these great prophets of God that did mention, then you have to trade in their steps. You have to trade their path, and you will eventually come to bet their kind of ministry. God is looking for men like Elijah. Will you be one? God is looking for women like Deborah. Prophetess Deborah. Will you be one? Will you be that person by whom when God says, go, and you go, the kingdom wins? These are the kind of prophets God is raising here, not vegetable prophets in that sense. So today, in case you want to take your prophetic walk to a deeper depth, sign up with me right now. Enroll with me in the Shiloh School of CS for certificate course in forensic prophecy. We are mentor prophets from around the world. At the time, by the grace of God, I've mentored prophets from over 120 countries, and I'm still counting. You too will be one of those who testify to the greatness of God or the goodness of God in the things he's doing through the Shiloh School of CS. And your prophetic office, your prophetic gifting, your prophetic work will never be the same again forever. You can also get yourself set to go deeper with us in the Shallow School of Seers through the other courses in forensic prophecies when you inquire. To do that, pick the WhatsApp contact in front of you here on the screen or in the pinned comment here on YouTube. The pinned comment of Apostle Remote Area Ministries on YouTube. Pick the WhatsApp contact here, contact us, or click the link there to visit our site and reach out to us to enroll for certificate course in forensic prophecy or for any other professional courses in forensic prophecy that you care about. You will never be the same again. See you in Shiloh School of Seers. I pray that the Lord release upon you such an uncommon unction that transform you and this generation forever with revival. I mean prophetic revolution and revival in Jesus' mighty name. See you in Shiloh School of Seers.